Hey, this is Sammy again. I'm going to cover everything that you need to know about fractions in this video. So here you go. First of all, what's a fraction? A fraction, if you see, we have the top there, which is 2, and we call this the numerator. And we have the bottom, which is 3, and we call this the denominator. What fraction means, it means 2 divided by 3. That's what it means, or 2 out of 3. So how does that apply in real situations? So if we look at this here, it's divided into 3 segments. So if I color this right here, this part of the circle, now the ones that are not colored are 2. So this is your numerator is 2. Out of the denominator, all of these, which are 3 segments right here. So 2/3. So this is 2 over everything. So the denominator is always including everything here. And the numerator is the partitions that you're interested in right here. So this 2/3. Yeah. So then what we're going to look at, we look at mixed numbers. We call this mixed number. If we want to change this to a mix, from a mixed number to a fraction or improper fraction, what you do, you multiply 5 into 3, you get 15, and then you add 1 to the 15. So you get 5 times 3 is 15, plus 1 is 16. You write 16, and you keep the bottom the same, or the denominator the same. So this is 16/3. We call this improper fraction. So improper fraction. Why do we call it improper fraction? So improper fraction, whenever the top or the numerator is greater than the denominator. So if the numerator is bigger than the denominator, we call it improper fractions. So therefore, if we have, let's say, 5/8, then we'll call this proper fraction, because the top is less than the bottom, or the numerator is less than the denominator. When that's the case, then it's proper fraction. Okay, now how about changing from improper fraction to a mixed number? When we want to do that, we go 7 divided by 2. So how many times does 2 go into 7? It doesn't have to go into it evenly, but we know 2 goes into 7 3 times. However, we know 3 times 2 is 6, so we know there's a 1 as a remainder, and that 1 will go over this number right here, which is 2. So 3 1/2 is the same as 7/2. This is improper fraction. This is a mixed number. Here, this is a mixed number. We change it to improper fraction. Now we go to the next thing about fractions. Whenever we do in fractions, and I cannot emphasize this enough, reduce fractions. Always reduce fractions before you proceed to the next step. How do we reduce fractions? When we want to reduce fractions, we look at both numbers and see if there's a number that we could see that goes into them. That's when your multiplication and division table comes to mind. So what goes into 8 and 2 evenly, both of them? And I see right away here, 2 goes into 8 4 times, and 2 goes into 18 9 times. So what we do, we cross the 8, we make it 4, we cross the 8, make it 9, we cross the 18, make it 9, because basically we're dividing this 8 by 2, we get in 4, and we divide the 18 by the same thing by 2 also, and we get 9, and that's how we reduce fractions. So that's 4/9. So the next thing we're going to do is multiply fractions and divide them. So when multiplying fractions, we always look to reduce. Okay, you could always reduce within each fraction, but here we cannot. 3 and 5 we cannot reduce by anything. 10 and 9 we could not reduce by anything. Then you look diagonally with the 10 and 5 and the 3 and 9, and if you could reduce, do so. So here definitely I could see 5 goes into itself once. So 5 goes into 5 goes into 5 once, and 5 goes into 10 twice. Now how about here? I could see that 3 goes into itself once, and 3 goes into 9 3 times. And now we cannot reduce any further, so we just multiply tops together. 1 times 2 we get 2. And 1 times 3, we get 3. Next thing, when we're dividing. So when we're dividing, we cannot divide till we do this. We go 7/27. We change the division to multiplication, and we flip this. So if this is 14/9, we make it 9/14. Another word to say this is to reciprocate, the reciprocal of this. This is a big word, but just flip. I think it's good enough. And now it becomes exactly like this. When you multiply, you look to reduce within, nothing within, but diagonally. I could see 9 goes into itself once and goes into 27 3 times. And here, diagonally, I could see 7 goes into itself once and goes into 14 twice. Now I multiply tops together. 1 times 1 is 1. 3 times 2 is 6. Now we come to the next question. This is division. However, when we have improper fractions, we have to change them, or sorry, when we have mixed numbers, we have to change them to improper fractions to be able to divide them and multiply them. So here, again, 3 times 2 is 6. 6 plus 1 is 7. This is 7 over 2 divided by 2 times 3 is 6. 6 plus 1 is 7. So this becomes 7 over 3. And therefore, when we're dividing, we always change to multiplication and reciprocate if you like big words, or just flip. That's good enough. So now 7 goes into itself once, goes into itself once. Could divide both of these by 7. So we got 1, 1. Now you cannot reduce any further. You multiply tops. You get 3 times 1, which is 3, and 2 times 1 is 2. So this is 3 halves. You could leave this as it is, or if you want to change it to improper fraction, or to change it to a mixed number, you go 3 divided by 2. 2 goes into 3, not evenly, but it goes into 3 once. And then 1 times 2 is 2. You have 1 as a remainder. So it's 2, 1 and 1/2. And that's the answer for that. So here's the next thing is adding and subtracting fractions. So when you're adding and subtracting fractions, you follow the same rules. The rules is to do common denominator, or the lowest common denominator. But here, since the denominators are the same, you just write a long line. You write the 6 right here, and then you put the 1 plus 2 right on top of them. And then here, you add the top, and you get 3 over 6. When you reduce this, you get 3 goes into itself once, and it goes into 6 twice. So your final answer is 1/2. Now, how about this one? This one here, there's no common denominator. So you have to look for the lowest common denominator. How do we do lowest common denominator? You go to the biggest number, or the biggest denominator right here, which is the 3. And you see if the 2 goes into 3 evenly. No, it doesn't. So you go to the next multiple of 3, which is 6. Does 2 go into 6? Yeah, 2 goes into 6. So therefore, 6 is my lowest common denominator. So the way I do it, I go 6 divided by 3, I get 2. I multiply that 2 into the top 2, you get 4. And then I have my plus sign, and I go 6 divided by 2 is 3. I multiply the 3 into the top here, which is 1. 3 times 1 gives me 3. Or if you're more comfortable doing this, to make this the common denominator, 6, you multiply this by 2, you do the same thing to the top. And to make this 6, you multiply it by 3, you do the same thing to the top. And that will still give you this. Here we have 7 over 6. And 7 over 6, if you want to change it to improper fraction, or to change it to mixed number from improper fraction, you go 7 divided by 6. 6 goes into 7 once, and then you have 1 as a remainder, and that will be 1 and 1/6 if you want to change it to that. But this is fine enough. Now, as I said, subtracting is the same as addition. So if you don't have a common denominator, you have to make a common denominator. You look at the biggest number. Does 6 go into 8? No, it doesn't. Go to the next multiple of 8, which is 16. Does 6 go into 16? No, it doesn't. Let's go to the next multiple of 8. After 16 plus 8 is 24. So 24, does 6 go into 24? Yeah. So now 24 is your lowest common denominator. So now you go 24 divided by 8, which gives you 3. You multiply that 3 to the top 3 there, and you get 9. Minus 24 divided by 6 is 4. You multiply the 4 into the 1, you get 4. And this will give you 5 over 24. So now we're adding mixed numbers. Do we need to change them to improper fractions? No, you don't. If you're more comfortable doing that, go ahead, but I don't. So what I do here, I add the 5 and the 2, I get 7. I take the 2/3 and 1/4 on the side, and I add the 2/3 and 1/4 the same way that I do common denominator here. So my common denominator, I'm going to be a little bit quicker in this. 12. 12 divided by 3 is 4. 4 times 2 is 8. And then 12 divided by 4 is 3. 3 times 1 is 3. And I get, this will give me 11 over 12. So therefore, the answer is 7 and 11/12. Yeah. So we'll go do 2 more questions, and then this is it. This is all you need to know for fractions. If you understand how to do this, basically fractions are all covered for you. So here's another one. We're subtracting. So we do the same thing. 9 minus 5 is 4. And I take the 1/2 minus 1/3 on the side. I do common denominator, which is 6. 6 divided by 2 is 3. 3 times 1 is 3. And then minus sign, 6 divided by 3 is 2. 2 times 1 is 2. So that's there, equals 1 over 6. So my answer here is 4 1/6. Of course, if you're more comfortable doing common denominator this way, you multiply this by 3, multiply this by 3, multiply this by 2, and you multiply this by 2, you still get 3 minus 2, which gives you 1/6, and that's the answer. Now, here's one more, and this will be my last question that I'm going to cover. This is a little bit tricky, so the same thing, we're adding mixed numbers, so we go 3 plus 2 is 5. I take the 3/4 plus the 1/2 to the side. My common denominator here is 4, and I'm going to get 3, multiply this by 2, multiply this by 2 if you like that, plus 2, which is 5/4. Now, this is improper fraction. What you need to do before you bring this in here, you definitely, because it's improper fraction, you have to change it into a mixed number, and this will give me 1 1/4, because 5 divided by 4 gives me 1, and we know 1 times 4 is 4, so 1 is a remainder, so it's 1 1/4. So what you do, you take this 5 here and add 1 1/4 to it. You just add the 1 to the 5 and you get 6, and so it's 6 1/4, and this is it. So there you go. I mean, if you could follow this, fractions are done. You got all the tools that you need to be solving fractions. As always, thanks again for watching. Don't forget to hit that like button, share with family and friends, subscribe to my channel. Till next time, bye-bye.